Day by day, little by little, we write the story of our lives. Join author Joe Alch on a walk down memory lane with tenacious humans who didn't let their circumstances dictate their life and what they could become. Welcome to the Lemon Tree Memoirs of Courage podcast.
Good morning. Today we have a wonderful guest who is in the process of writing her story of courage. She's a friend of mine, just a great message. I'm so honored to have Christine Hoza. She is a lifelong journalist spanning decades in print, broadcast, digital, and social media. She's been writing and reporting on stories as long as she can remember. Now she's writing a story of her own, a book about how life unexpectedly changed and how God used her to invest, shape, and change her life. So today we're talking with Christine about why she's writing her life story. Welcome, Christine.
Joe, thank you so much for inviting me.
I'm so thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
So, okay, we're talking about writing your story. And since you're still in the process, I think you're about 90% through.
Yes.
We're not going to reveal the title. We will reveal it in a future episode and on Facebook. But you were raised by a doting mother after your father left 3 months after you were born. So let's talk about that.
That's absolutely right. After my father left, my mother and I, 3 months after I was born, he left her with the sole responsibility of raising me, and most of the time working 2 jobs to provide for us. I grew up in daycare, and then I became a latchkey kid because I grew up in a single-family home.
Wow. So do you have any brothers or sisters?
I am the only child.
Wow. So you wore some big shoes.
I did.
Very little.
I did.
So why are you writing the book? Tell me the reason for writing.
Absolutely. While this book is about my life-changing story, the purpose of the book is to inspire the reader that it's not where you start in life, but it's about finishing strong.
Mm-hmm. So let's go to the beginning. Tell me what your thoughts when you were in daycare and your mom was working, and you knew she was doing the best she could to keep
Absolutely.
you a family. And hats off to single moms.
She did an amazing job.
Yeah, I'm sure. So tell me, as a child in daycare, tell me your kind of walk at that time.
Absolutely. Growing up in daycare, I think and my mom knows this, I think what I really longed for is to be connected with a family. I appreciate everything that I was blessed with in daycare, but I think we all desire to be connected with our families. I really longed for my mother. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, it's about finishing strong. While we cannot rewrite the beginning of our story, we certainly can write the ending. It doesn't matter that if you grew up in daycare or if you were a latchkey kid or a single parent home, that doesn't mean that the rest of your life has to be that way.
Well, I know going back when my parents divorced, and it was the first divorce in our church, actually, in a little town in Louisiana. And so I was the only one of my friends that didn't have a mom to come home to after school. I was the only one. And there was some shame involved in that. I was embarrassed. I didn't like to have friends over because people would see my situation. And I was one of those latchkey kids too. I knew my dad was doing the best he could. He had to work. He had to provide for us. I
don't know that I felt shame particularly, my mother really raised me to be strong and independent and a strong thinker. And but I think what I was feeling is a disconnection. And I talk about that. I talk about that in the book. And in fact, at a very young age, I really sensed something at a very young age, and that was that I was disconnected from the very source that I needed. That
How old would you say you were when you recognized that disconnection?
I don't know that I knew what to call it, but my mother tells me that I was somewhere around the age of 3. And which is really young. And I don't know that I knew what to call it, but I knew that there was something different and that I was missing something. And what it was is I was really longing for something that I didn't have. And at around 3 years old, I really wanted that family unit, the mother and father, to laugh together, pray together, invest in one another. And I think looking back, what I was trying to say at that very young age is that I wanted a sense of community. We all want a sense of community. We all want to be part of something that is bigger than ourselves. We all want someone to invest in us, to pour into us, and really to show us the way. I think that is really puts it into perspective. Is my mother did an amazing job providing for us, but she couldn't do everything.
That's right.
I mean, no person can. But I really needed someone to show me the way and to invest in me, because we're really only as strong as that which we're anchored to.
So when did your life unexpectedly change?
Wow. You know what? That is what the book is about. And I can't reveal the title just yet, but I'm so excited to tell you about my story and to inspire you. But my life unexpectedly changed when I was in high school. I was going into my junior year in high school here in the Dallas area. And it was at the recommendation of a classmate that encouraged me. Oh my gosh, it still gets me emotional, but encouraged me to take a journalism class. And I just didn't feel that I had any credentials at that time to take this class under this amazing teacher. And it was through that class that God used that teacher not only to shape my life, but to invest in me, pour into me, challenge me, really to inspire me to become a lifelong journalist. And God took her home early in life, regrettably, very early in life. But amazingly so, I felt God's prompting like I had never felt before to reach out to her family via a payphone. Back in the day, I reached out to her family, called them on a payphone, and it was through her family that God brought about a lifelong investment, even to this very day.
So what prompted that phone call? What was going on that you went to the payphone and picked up and thought, you know what, I need to talk to somebody?
Absolutely. I talk about that in the book, and I think it's in chapter 3, I think it is. And I felt, it's a great question. I felt God's prompting like I had never felt it before. And it just took me about probably 6 months to muster my courage. And I actually went overseas for the summer to help lead a mission trip, and in mustering my courage while I was on that trip. And I just knew that I wanted to let the world know, but most importantly and first and foremost, to let her family know, not that they didn't already know, but just how amazing she was and how encouraging, and the investment that not only that she put into me, but she put into thousands of students who crossed her path. And I just wanted them to know that that she, while she's in heaven and has been for many years and will forever and ever, that I would always tell her story. And here I am telling her story 30-something years later.
You know, it's amazing how simple acts of kindness can make such a difference in someone's life. And my book, The Lemon Tree, is about a woman who owned a little shop, and she befriended me. She was kind to me, and she probably thought, she was probably kind to everybody, you know, but I needed that so much, and it really made me the person I am today. It was that little nudge and shove that you are special, you've got value, there's something really unique about you. And we can all be that
right.
lemon tree. We can all be that encourager. And, you know, I try to, at work, I try to, if I see something in somebody, it's so important to make them feel, wow, they've done a great job. You know, thank you.
That's right.
You sure know how to do that, you know.
You know, it's not just a random act of kindness. That is amazing, and I love paying it forward. I love that. But the point of my book is to inspire you to invest, whether it's a season, or or a lifetime. Investing in someone can really be life-changing. I wouldn't be doing what I am today. I wouldn't be writing this book if this teacher hadn't spent the time to invest in me. I was a late bloomer, in the world of journalism, but she poured into me, and as she did thousands of others, as she did. But, I wanted to touch on something, Joe, that God is in the people business. At the end of the day, people matter. And I talk about this in the book, that we have moved away from a relationship-based society to a transactional-based society. And
So what does that mean?
Absolutely. That's a great question. We were talking about that. Earlier. Think about a financial transaction. It's just it's about making the transaction. It's about making the sell, which is fine. But we have really taken that human element out of the equation. And that's really near and dear to my heart. People are very near and dear to my heart because people matter to God. Mm-hmm. And God is in the people business. And it really pains me that we have moved away from a relationship-based society, because we're made for relationships. We're made to help each other. And that's why we're here. The Bible tells us in Matthew 22:37 to love the Lord with all of our heart, soul, and mind, and to love thy neighbor as thyself. Mm-hmm. And I'm guilty of it as well. Just writing this book and pouring myself into it and just retracing steps, I can see how I have moved away from it. And so I'm really just more sensitive to it now, because it's just brought awareness to me. And I just want to bring awareness to the reader, as well as inspire them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just, you're right, people are so busy, and that community, even in our own neighborhoods, you have to take the step. A lot of times it's not going to be your neighbor that invites everybody over. But I'll give an example. I decided to start a book club in our neighborhood. We're kind of new to our neighborhood.
That's awesome.
And we have 20 women. They're all fairly new to the neighborhood. They all are empty nesters like me. We have so much in common, and we have so much fun. We discuss the book for about 5 minutes, and then everything else under the sun, and we help each other. And we've only been a group for about 6 months, but already it's just so fun, and it's so nice that we have somebody to lean on. But sometimes you have to be the one to make that first step. And if
You have to be the change that you want to see. I know that it sounds so trite, but it isn't. And it's been an awakening to me that I have to be the change that I want to see. And I just want to bring awareness to everyone that I come in contact with, to just to say, hey, we need each other. I need you. I need you, because we all have strong points that maybe somebody else doesn't have, that we can help, that we can help that person. Absolutely.
And also accountability partners too.
That's
you
right.
know, somebody, you may want to start a walking club in your neighborhood, or, just like the book club, cooking club. There's something you can do to get to know other people and really invest in other people. Talk about, now let's talk about your book now and writing your book. So those people that your New Year's resolution is, you know what, I'm going to write a story. Now you are a professional writer, you're a publisher, you have the tools that a lot of us don't have. I didn't have those tools. But what advice would you give the person that says, my New Year's resolution is to write a book on how I got through a 3-month mission trip overseas? This is just an example. So what would you say? How do you start?
Well, you're not going to build Rome overnight, and it's a process. The best thing I can tell people is to take your time. Let it marinate. Sometimes when I'm writing, the best thing I can do is sleep on it and wake up the next day and have a fresh set of eyes. I started September 1st writing this book, and I had to, let me just back up a little bit. I had been wanting to write this book for a long time. The timing didn't seem right, schedules got busy, and I just kind of moved away from it. I didn't even really realize it, but it was being out on the East Coast late last year that through a conversation that I could just see that God had lifted the veil, and I could see the vision for the book, and I couldn't wait to get back to Dallas and start writing this book. But that doesn't happen for everyone. But at the end of the day, we all have a story. Every one of us has a story. And for me, I just had to draw that proverbial demarcation line in the sand and say, today's the day. Today's the day that I'm going to start writing. I want to start inspiring people. And it was just mustering the courage. And it just takes time. But I think you just have to decide that that's what you're going to do. And when you want to do something, when you have that vision and the passion and you can see it, you're going to be able to fit it in the nook and crannies of your life. You're not going to write the book overnight. I've not set any hard deadlines in getting the book finished. There are soft deadlines. But having said that, you don't want to rush it. I've spent my career for the better part of 35 years writing on deadline. And I tell people, if I didn't write on deadline, I don't think I would know what to do. But writing a book doesn't have to be about writing on deadline. You know when the book is going to be finished. You know when the story is going to be complete. But you want to take your time, but you'll know. You'll know when you're ready. But just be careful. What I would tell people is just to be careful not to let life get in the way. Don't underestimate what you can do in a year's time. How do you eat the big elephant, the proverbial elephant? One bite at a time. So just do something a little bit every day.
So do you ever have days that you feel, oh, my writing today? Share that, because it couldn't be every day. Oh, I'm going to write 4,000 words, and oh, great, okay, tomorrow. So tell me, do you have struggles in your writing?
Absolutely. I wouldn't be human if I didn't. Everybody does. And sometimes I'll write and I'll get back up the next morning and go, oh, no, I didn't like that at all. Or I'll get up the next morning and go, I really love that. That is right on point. Absolutely. And with all books, even though I'm writing my memoirs about how this amazing teacher changed my life, I'm still doing a lot of research. And that takes time, and you don't want to rush it. But you know what I would encourage people to do in writing, that you brought that back to my mind, and thank you, is that document your journey along the way. Keep a journal for yourself, take pictures, share them with people. It holds you accountable as well, and it also helps people to understand and to get excited about walking that journey with you, and that it also holds you accountable, and you can see how God is moving you forward. And I think it's a great way to document. And you don't have to document in big ways, but if you just do something, a little bit of something every day, or maybe every other day, when your schedule works best, but you've got to have those small wins. You've got to eat the little bite at a time.
It's discipline. I mean, you have
That's
to have
right.
discipline in writing. Even the professional writers.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And discipline, discipline doesn't mean necessarily having the television off, or, life goes on. And while that may work better for some people, that may not be a situation or an issue for somebody else. You just have to know what it's going to take for you to be disciplined and to stay disciplined. And for me, it was it is the determination and the perseverance. And I can always remember my journalism teacher telling me, and I can still hear her telling me today, Christine, just persevere, keep moving forward. Just because you started out in life this way or that way, it doesn't have to be that way. You can finish strong, but you've got to persevere.
Did she tell you those words in high school?
She did.
Wow.
She did. And I will, it still is very emotional for me. I'll tell you a story very near and dear to my heart, and hope that I can get through it. But, while all of my classmates were going off to big universities, I actually started out at the community college. And, looking back, that's exactly where God needed me. I had some amazing professors that played a very big part in my career in television and in radio that I would not have had necessarily if I had gone a different direction. But I was feeling less than at that point, and I just remember her looking at me straight in the eye, and she took my hand and she said, Christine, she probably said Chris at that point, but she said, Chris, you persevere, you stay strong, stay focused, and you will finish strong. And sometimes courage and discipline and perseverance will take you further than just knowledge alone. And I never forgot that. And as I've gotten older, it just resonates more and more. And I'm so thankful that that I heeded her words. And, my mother has always instilled determination as well in me, and perseverance, and just instilled that I could be anything I wanted to be in the world. But I'm so glad that I really heeded my teacher's wisdoms, her wisdom, her pearls of wisdom, if I may say, because it has served me well in life. And, I moved beyond community college and went on to the university, and just so very, very thankful. But gosh, those were great pearls of wisdom. And upon our graduation, as she did for all of our classes that were graduating, she gave us a small book that I believe it was about the book of Proverbs, and she wrote a small inscription with a personal letter that I still have. And we hadn't talked about this early on, but I just want to share this with you. But in her last chapter of life, she remembered the book that I read for my senior year in high school. She had encouraged all of us. The assignment our senior year was to pick a book and then do a book report. And we were on the journalism staff, but that was, as I remember it, that was one of our assignments. But she assigned this book to me my senior year. And she motioned me up to her desk and she said, I want you to read this book. And I talk about that book in my book, and it sits on an easel in my study as a source of inspiration after all of these years. But in her last chapter of life, she remembered that I read that book, and she sent that book to me with a personal letter that that she was proud of me, and to remind me of to persevere, and how far that would take me in life. And I still read that inscription to this day, and how much, just how much it's near and dear to my heart to have a teacher to pour into me like that, even in her last chapter of life.
Wow, that's incredible. That's awesome. Well, it has been so wonderful, Christine, having you as a guest. We cannot wait to see your book. Can't wait to have your book, and I will definitely share it on this podcast. And if somebody wants to reach out to you just with questions, is there a way they can do that?
Absolutely. Go to Facebook and just give me a friend request, and I will be sure to acknowledge that. I would love to share my journey with you, and you can find that at Christine Hoza on Facebook. And one last thing that I want to make for sure is that what I want, the purpose of this book, to inspire the reader, that it's not where you start, but it's about finishing strong. Because at the end of the day, we are only as strong as we succeed as a result of those who choose to invest in us. And oh my goodness, how I can look back and see so many people who God has woven in and out of my life, because running the race and finishing strong, at the end of the day, it's about helping each other.
It is. Thank you so much, Christine.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys, and you all have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Lemon Tree Memoirs of Courage podcast, hosted by author Joe Alch. You can find more information on Joe's beginnings and the Lemon Tree at thelemontreebook.com.